Australians have a deep affection for the unique and sometimes irreverent qualities that make us quintessentially Australian. There's a quiet, understated pride in being and feeling Australian. How well do we understand the essence of our Australianness? Does it matter whether we can articulate those qualities? If we can't articulate that essence, if we can't celebrate that essence, if we don't breathe life into that essence through our governments and institutions, then that essence is almost impossible to keep alive. Does that matter? Yes, it does matter, because it defines who we are as individuals, as families, and as a nation. How we describe ourselves underpins what we stand for and what we tolerate, accept, and celebrate. If we lose sight of how to describe who we are, or we forget, then we lose ourselves and can no longer inspire future generations to that unique Australianness. So I encourage all Australians to have that conversation about what makes us fabulously unique. Australians see ourselves as being free. We value our freedom of speech, freedom to have our own political and religious views, being free to start a business, free to move about, and free to associate with whoever we want. This is about freedom from excessive and arbitrary government interference in our lives, and freedom from coercion. Freedom is not just about being Australian. It's fundamental to a healthy human being, for creativity, for good decision-making, for self-responsibility, and for our dignity. Our governing institutions are built on recognizing these individual freedoms and embracing a free democratic society. Our Commonwealth was created based on these individual freedoms, and this unites us as a country. It's through freedom that we trust each other and our political institutions. Geographic isolation, a small population, and vulnerability have created a unique mateship style of friendship, where we are quick to be open and honest. Typically, we aren't concerned about where we're from, how much money we have, or which school we went to. When Australians consider someone a friend, there's an enduring loyalty that goes with it. Aussies typically would never ask someone to do something we aren't willing to do ourselves, and dobbing on each other is frowned on. In regional Australia, this mateship is more obvious because there's a greater interdependency between people and communities. We don't know when we will need to rely on someone else. A simple wave from one driver to another is a simple reminder that we can be called upon when needed. Aussies have a ready willingness to help a mate in need, and a six-pack of beer is often reward enough. Our early days of hard work, hardship, and self-sufficiency have removed any remnants of class and pomp that our British settlers brought with them. This created a culture that doesn't consider one group of people being inherently better than another. We're built on the legacy of people from many nations, and that's developed a sense of fair go and equal opportunity to have a go, regardless of our backgrounds. We know that while we all deserve a fair go, that doesn't mean that everyone gets the same outcome. Some of us become better off than others through our own hard work, luck, and merit. And to that we say, good on them. They worked hard for that. This egalitarianism is manifested in our laws, where Australians expect that everyone is treated similarly and with fairness under the law. This is fundamental to bringing Australians who have come from many parts of the world together to live in harmony. One of the refreshing aspects of our Australian culture is that we can't always tell if someone is financially wealthy or not. Typically, we're a modest mob and reluctant to be showy about our achievements and wealth, and we treat people the same regardless of wealth. We're considered unpretentious and authentic, and a commonly used phrase to describe us is that we are down to earth. Australians are considered no-nonsense and straight up, and while we say what we think, we loathe the bragging or anyone who thinks they know better than everyone else. Even Australians who have achieved enormous success still value informality and will often engage in humorous, self-deprecating comments about themselves. The birth of modern-day Australia has come from hard work, self-reliance, and perseverance. So we have a history of hard work and entrepreneurship. We aren't too proud to get our hands dirty, and our give-it-a-go and easygoing attitude gives us the confidence to muck in together or build a business. There's enormous pride in our work ethic that gets things done, and we know our dignity comes from doing a good day's work. We have the freedom to build and own assets that create financial stability for our families and our communities. Owning businesses and homes invests in our communities and economies. We're doing our bit to make it a better place. These are some of the classical features that I love about being an Australian, and that I love about our Australian culture. The last few years, though, have posed an increasing threat to our way of life, and government has ignored and eroded some of our fundamental values. The rise of cancel culture is threatening our sense of identity and creating a sense of shame of who we are and from where we came. That's undermining our values. Every generation is faced with its unique challenges, and many decisions made over 100 years ago would probably not be made today. Each generation stands on the shoulders of the previous, and there's nothing to be gained blaming and shaming populations for decisions made 200 years ago. It changes nothing, it achieves nothing, and is misguided. It hurts and betrays people who may be disadvantaged today. Political correctness has slowly strangled public discourse, even creeping into communities and families. The larrikin spirit that tells it as it really is falling silent. When we start to self-censor what we think or how we feel, or someone else censors us, not only have we lost our free speech, we allow the erosion of our culture and our values. Over the past couple of years, our freedoms have suffered the greatest incursions in modern-day Australia, with government overreach having no boundaries. Our sense of mateship has turned into scorn and suspicion, and we're judged and dobbed on, dividing families and communities. Governments have created welfare programs to distract us from the relentless lockdowns and arbitrary restrictions that have destroyed jobs and businesses and taken people's dignity. We've arrived as a nation at a time when we need to decide who we are. Do we stay timid and scared? Do we stay silent and neutral on issues that threaten to derail the essence of our Australian way of life and lifestyle? Do we allow our supposed representatives in Parliament and government to continue overreach? Or do we unite together to push political overreach out of our lives? I urge all Australians to have the conversation about who we are and what's unique about our Australianness. While your list of qualities may be different from mine, what's more important is that we're keeping our Australianness alive, breathing life into it, and through living its values. We can't afford to be indifferent towards our culture. We can't assume that someone else is keeping it alive. We can't just hope things we cherish about Australia will always be in place if we, as individuals, families and communities, don't pass the cultural baton down to the next generation. Personally, I love our freedoms, our egalitarian perspectives, our pride in fairness, our mateship and modesty around our achievements, and our hard-working, give-it-a-go attitude. I love that Australians are quick to be open and share a joke. I believe that everyone who is prepared to work for it deserves a fair go. I'm immensely proud to be an Australian and grateful for our country's beauty, abundance, and potential. The last 2 years have spurred me to continue dedicating myself to rekindling and protecting our Australian values.